What if everything you've been told about losing weight, counting calories, eating 6 small meals, and exercising more was a complete lie? What if obesity isn't about greed or laziness, but about hormones, timing, and a silent chemical that rules your appetite from the shadows? Today, we dive into the Obesity Code, a book that doesn't just teach you how to lose weight. It rewrites the science of why we gain it in the first place. Dr. Jason Fung, a world-renowned nephrologist, argues that insulin, not calories, is the true conductor of body fat. Every time we eat, especially sugar and refined carbs, insulin surges, locking fat inside our cells. The longer it stays high, the harder it becomes to burn fat, no matter how much we exercise or starve ourselves. So the solution isn't to eat less, it's to eat smarter and less often. Let's uncover how obesity became the epidemic of our time. Chapter 1: How Obesity Became an Epidemic. In the 1970s, obesity was rare. Fast forward a few decades, and it's everywhere across every country, every income level, every age. What changed? The food environment, not our willpower. Dr. Fung traces the explosion of obesity to a perfect storm: the low-fat diet movement, the rise of processed foods, and the demonization of fat. Governments told us to cut fat and eat more carbohydrates. Food companies filled the shelves with low-fat, high-sugar snacks. We obeyed. But instead of getting leaner, we got heavier and sicker. The irony. As we followed the experts' advice, insulin levels quietly climbed. Insulin, the fat storage hormone, was whispering one command to every cell in our body: store more, burn less. The result? A biological trap, one that no amount of calorie counting could escape. Dr. Fung argues obesity isn't a personal failure. It's a systemic design flaw in how we eat and when we eat. The food industry profits from keeping us constantly hungry, and the medical system keeps treating symptoms instead of the cause. And that cause, that invisible switch that locks fat inside you, is insulin. But to understand why we can't just eat less, we need to see where the problem begins. Our genes and early conditioning. Cliffhanger: what if your tendency to gain weight was already written before you ever took your first bite? Chapter 2: Inheriting Obesity. Dr. Fung shatters the myth that obesity is purely genetic. Yes, genes play a role, but they don't decide your fate, they simply set the stage. The real director is the environment, and more precisely, the hormonal signals that environment sends. Studies on identical twins prove the point. Raised apart, they can weigh very differently, move someone from a traditional diet to a Western one, and their weight skyrockets, no genetic change needed. The reason lies in how insulin resistance develops over time. When you constantly feed your body breakfast, snacks, lunch, snacks, dinner, dessert, your insulin never gets a break. It's like leaving a light switch on forever. Eventually, the bulb burns out, your cells stop responding, your body produces more insulin to compensate, and fat storage becomes permanent. So the true inheritance isn't DNA, it's habits, cultural diets, and chronically elevated insulin. And this is where the tragedy deepens. Children are now born into homes where constant eating and sugary foods are the norm. From birth, their bodies are conditioned for obesity before they even reach adulthood. But the next part of Dr. Fung's work exposes the biggest deception in modern nutrition: the belief that a calorie is just a calorie. Because what if the way calories work depends entirely on how they affect your hormones? Chapter 3: The Calorie-Reduction Error. For decades, we've been told one golden rule of weight loss: eat less, move more. But if that were true, why are millions still trapped in the same body despite eating salads, running miles, and starving themselves in silence? Dr. Fung exposes the heartbreaking truth: calories don't control your weight, hormones do. When you cut calories, your body doesn't surrender fat, it fights back. It slows your metabolism, increases hunger, and protects every ounce of stored fat like treasure in a vault. It's a biological survival system, not a lack of discipline. So when you eat 1,200 calories a day and still don't lose weight, it's not failure, it's physiology. The body isn't a simple calculator, it's a thermostat. When you lower calories, it lowers your burn rate to match. That's why traditional diets work temporarily and then collapse spectacularly. Dr. Fung calls it the calorie-reduction error, a false equation that has broken millions of hearts and hopes. Until we fix the hormonal thermostat, no amount of math can free us from obesity. So, if calorie restriction fails, maybe exercise is the magic answer, right? Let's see what happens when we put that myth to the test. Chapter 4. The exercise myth. We've all heard it. You just need to burn more calories than you eat. But what if the gym isn't the battlefield you think it is, and exercise might actually make you hungrier, not thinner? Dr. Fung dismantles one of the biggest illusions in modern health. You can outrun a bad diet. Yes, exercise builds strength, improves mood, and boosts longevity, but as a fat loss strategy, it's shockingly weak. Why? Because the body compensates. After an intense workout, hunger hormones surge, you eat more, rest more, and the deficit disappears. Studies show even marathon runners often lose no fat if their diets remain insulin spiking. Exercise is good for the body, but fat loss is a hormonal game, and insulin is still the referee. That's why Dr. Fung insists. The path to a leaner body doesn't start on the treadmill, it starts in the kitchen, with how and when you eat. But here's the paradox. Some people can eat more and still lose weight. How is that possible? Dr. Fung calls it the overfeeding paradox, and it flips everything we think we know about energy on its head. Chapter 5. The overfeeding paradox. If overeating causes obesity, then eating extra should always make you fatter, right? Then how do we explain the shocking studies where people overeat and yet gain no significant fat? Dr. Fung presents the paradoxical evidence. When some people are force-fed thousands of calories, their bodies automatically burn more, their metabolism rises, body temperature increases, and they subconsciously move more. In contrast, when others restrict calories, their bodies shut down, metabolism drops, and they store more fat even from small meals. The lesson: the human body isn't a bank account. It's a dynamic, self-adjusting machine. It doesn't obey calorie math. It obeys hormonal logic and the master signal controlling whether we burn or store. Once again, insulin. Dr. Fung's revelation is simple yet radical. Obesity isn't caused by eating too much, it is caused by eating too often. Because every bite, every snack, every sugary sip keeps insulin high, trapping fat inside like a locked vault. But if calories and exercise aren't the villains, who's really pulling the strings of our expanding waistlines? In the next part, Dr. Fung introduces a new Model 1 that finally explains why some people can eat normally and never gain weight. Chapter 6. A New Hope. Imagine you've been fighting your own body for years, counting every bite, measuring every step only to watch the scale mock you. What if the problem isn't you, but the rules you were taught to follow? Dr. Fung offers a radical new hope. Obesity isn't a character flaw, it is a hormonal imbalance, primarily driven by chronically high insulin. When insulin rises, it tells the body, store energy. When it falls, it says, release energy. The modern diet, filled with refined carbs and frequent snacking, keeps insulin high all day long. So we're not gaining fat because we eat too much, we're regaining fat because we never stop triggering insulin. The good news? If hormones cause this, hormones can fix it. By lowering insulin through dietary changes and fasting, your body naturally resets its weight. No more fighting hunger, no more metabolic slowdown, just balance restored. But to truly defeat obesity, we must confront the villain head-on, and that villain has a name: insulin. Chapter 7. Insulin, the master hormone. One hormone commands when you feel hungry, when you burn fat, and even how much energy your body allows you to have. Meet insulin, the silent dictator inside you. Every time you eat, insulin rises to shuttle glucose into cells. But the more often you eat and the more sugar or refined carbs you consume, the more insulin you produce. Eventually, the system breaks down, cells stop responding. The body compensates by producing even more insulin. This vicious loop is called insulin resistance, and it's the true foundation of obesity. Dr. Fung reveals that constant eating breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner traps your body in permanent storage mode. Your fat cells never get permission to release energy, so you stay hungry and tired even when full. He explains that lowering insulin isn't about suffering. It's about timing meals, reducing sugar, and giving your body time to breathe. But insulin isn't the only hormone turning against us. There is another one quietly sabotaging our efforts during stress. Cortisol, Chapter 8. Cortisol, the stress connection. You've followed every rule, cut every carb, yet the scale won't budge. What if the real weight you're carrying isn't fat but stress? Dr. Fung exposes cortisol as the stress hormone that ignites hunger and raises insulin. When you're under constant pressure, deadlines, financial worries, lack of sleep, cortisol floods your system, increasing blood sugar and in turn, insulin. Even if you're eating clean, stress alone can drive fat storage, especially around the belly. The modern world keeps us wired, phones buzzing, notifications flashing, and our bodies never return to rest. That means cortisol never shuts off. Dr. Fung shows that managing stress isn't a wellness, it's a metabolic necessity. Meditation, sleep, laughter, and fasting all help lower cortisol, breaking the link between emotional tension and physical fat. But when low-carb diets tried to fix this hormonal chaos, they faced a fierce enemy, an industry that couldn't afford to let the truth spread. Chapter 9, The Atkins Onslaught. In the early 2000s, a quiet revolution began. People were losing weight, eating bacon and butter. The world panicked. How could eating fat make you thin? Dr. Fung revisits the rise and fall of the Atkins diet, one of the first mainstream challenges to calorie counting. It worked because it drastically lowered insulin levels by cutting carbs. But it failed to last because society couldn't let go of its deep-rooted fat phobia. Doctors dismissed it, media mocked it, and food companies fought it, not because it didn't work, but because it threatened billions in low-fat profits. Fung explains that Atkins revealed a hidden truth. When insulin drops, fat burns effortlessly. But people replaced carbs with processed low-carb junk, forgetting that real food, not packaging, heals metabolism. So if insulin is the real driver, the next question is, how does the body become resistant to it, and how do we reverse it for good? Chapter 10. Insulin resistance, the major player. Imagine shouting so much that your voice gives out. That is what your body does when it floods itself with insulin until the cells stop listening entirely. Dr. Fung calls insulin resistance the gatekeeper of obesity. At first, high insulin keeps storing fat. Over time, your cells become numb, forcing the pancreas to pump out even more. This endless cycle leads not only to obesity, but also to type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, and heart disease. The body is drowning in insulin, yet starving for energy. The fix isn't to add medication, it is to remove the cause. Frequent eating, refined carbs, and sugary drinks. Fung emphasizes that healing insulin resistance takes fasting periods, whole foods, and consistency, not starvation, but strategic rest for the body. As insulin finally falls, fat cells unlock, energy floods back, and hunger normalizes. This is the moment your body remembers how to heal itself. But even as the science became clear, a darker truth emerged. Obesity isn't just biological, it's social, political, and profitable, and that's where the story turns next. Chapter 11. Big food, more food, and the new science of diabesity. What if the food that fills our plates was never meant to nourish us but to addict us? Behind every healthy snack and low-fat label, there's a trillion-dollar industry engineering one thing: your hunger. Dr. Fung exposes how the processed food empire quietly hijacked human biology. By designing foods with perfect ratios of sugar, salt, and fat, companies stimulate dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, just like a drug. These foods don't satisfy. They stimulate craving, forcing constant eating, constant insulin spikes, and constant fat storage. Portion sizes exploded, snacks became normal, and breakfast cereal replaced real food. And while governments told us to avoid fat, the food industry poured refined carbohydrates into everything from bread to sauces to yogurt. The result? A global epidemic, not of obesity alone, but of diabesity, the lethal twin rise of obesity and type 2 diabetes. Fung calls it a modern trap. We live in abundance but starve on a cellular level. We are not eating for fuel, we're eating for the next hit. But not everyone has equal access to these engineered foods. For millions, the problem isn't too much choice, it's too little. Chapter 12, Poverty and Obesity. Why is it that the poorest neighborhoods are often filled with the heaviest bodies? Shouldn't less money mean less food and less fat? The reality tells a crueler story. Dr. Fung uncovers the toxic link between poverty and obesity, a link forged by economics, not appetite. Cheap food is high in calories but low in nutrition. When families live on tight budgets, they reach for what's affordable: processed grains, sugary drinks, and fast food. These spike insulin, drive cravings, and create cycles of hunger and exhaustion. Worse, stress from financial insecurity floods the body with cortisol, which again raises insulin. So poverty doesn't just limit food choice, it biologically programs fat gain. It is a system where the poor are punished twice, once by their wallets and once by their hormones. Fung reminds us, you can't fix obesity without addressing inequality. Healthy food shouldn't be a luxury. It should be a right, and while adults fight invisible battles with money and stress, there's a darker tragedy unfolding, one that begins in childhood. Chapter 13. Childhood obesity. We once called childhood the healthiest time of life. Now kids are developing adult diseases: diabetes, fatty liver, hypertension before finishing middle school. What went wrong? Dr. Fung paints a heartbreaking picture. Children are growing up in a hormonal storm they never chose. They're fed sugar-loaded breakfasts, carb-stuffed lunches, and snacks between every class. Juice boxes replace water. Screen time replaces play. The result is constant insulin exposure from the moment they wake until they sleep. Parents, taught to never let kids go hungry, unknowingly train their children's bodies to fear fasting, to always expect food. And the more insulin they produce early in life, the harder it becomes to break the cycle later. Dr. Fung's warning is clear. If we don't reset how the next generation eats, we're programming them for lifelong disease. The cure isn't another diet, it is a new culture of eating, real food, natural hunger cycles, and fewer meals, not more. But before we can fix the future, we must understand what is broken in the present, the foods we call healthy, but that silently destroy our metabolism. Chapter 14. The deadly effects of fructose. It's sweet, it's everywhere, and it's killing us slowly, not with poison, but with pleasure. What if the real villain behind obesity isn't fat, but fructose? Dr. Fung reveals how fructose, found in table sugar and high fructose corn syrup, hijacks the liver like a toxin. Unlike glucose, which fuels every cell, fructose is processed only by the liver, where it turns directly into fat. This overload leads to fatty liver, insulin resistance, and ultimately obesity. But the danger runs deeper. Fructose doesn't trigger satiety hormones like leptin, so you never feel full. You eat more, crave more, and your insulin stays elevated longer. It's a biochemical trap hidden in sodas, fruit juices, and even healthy smoothies. Dr. Fung calls fructose the ethanol of sugar addictive, destructive, and socially accepted. It doesn't just make you overweight. It rewires your appetite and metabolism. But just when you think avoiding sugar is enough, a new threat hides under the label 0 calories. Chapter 15, The Diet Soda Delusion. You switch to diet drinks. You count every calorie. You think you're safe. But what if your 0-calorie soda is secretly making you gain more weight? Dr. Fung exposes the illusion of diet sodas and artificial sweeteners. Even without calories, they trick the brain into expecting sugar, triggering an insulin response anyway. This false signal causes hunger, cravings, and even worse, insulin resistance without actual food intake. Artificial sweeteners like aspartame, sucralose, and saccharin were marketed as saviors. In reality, they keep your body stuck in fat storage mode by confusing its hormonal feedback system. Research shows that people who drink diet sodas often eat more and gain more weight than those who don't. Why? Because your body thinks it's been cheated and it retaliates with more hunger. So if cutting sugar and switching to diet isn't the fix, what's left to blame? Dr. Fung points to the very foundation of our modern diet: refined carbohydrates. Chapter 16. Carbohydrates and protective fiber. Carbs aren't evil, they're misunderstood. The real question isn't if you should eat them, but how they come packaged by nature. Dr. Fung separates carbs into two worlds: refined and natural. Refined carbs, white bread, pasta, pastries, hit your bloodstream like lightning, spiking insulin instantly. Natural carbs, vegetables, fruits, grains in their whole form, are shielded by fiber, slowing digestion and reducing insulin spikes. Fiber is nature's defense mechanism. It prevents overeating, feeds good gut bacteria, and blunts the blood sugar surge. But when we strip it away for soft texture and long shelf life, carbs turn from energy to toxin. Fung's message is clear: don't fear carbs. Fear the ones disconnected from fiber, because once insulin surges unchecked, the body forgets how to burn fat and remembers only how to store it. If carbs aren't the sole villain, what about protein, the darling of every modern diet plan? The answer may surprise you. Chapter 17. Protein. Protein builds muscle, fuels strength, and boosts metabolism, or so we're told. But what if too much of it behaves exactly like sugar inside your body? Dr. Fung explains that while protein is essential, excess protein can be converted into glucose through a process called gluconeogenesis. This means overeating protein, especially from shakes, bars, and supplements, can spike insulin just like carbohydrates. The key is balance. Moderate protein intake supports muscle repair and satiety, but going beyond what your body needs flips the switch back to storage mode. Fung warns that protein obsession has become another diet trap, one that ignores the bigger hormonal picture. He points out that traditional cultures thrived on modest protein, plenty of natural fats, and periods of fasting, the very pattern our modern diets erased. And speaking of fat, the most misunderstood nutrient of all, Dr. Fung reveals how a decades-old fear shaped a global epidemic. Chapter 18. Fat phobia. For years, we were told that fat clogs arteries and kills hearts. So we removed it, replaced it with sugar, and watched the world grow sicker than ever. Dr. Fung tears apart the myth that dietary fat causes obesity or heart disease. He shows how the 1980s low-fat revolution was built on weak science and political convenience. When fat was removed from foods, manufacturers added sugar and refined carbs for flavor, fueling the insulin explosion. Healthy fats from avocados, olive oil, nuts, and fish actually stabilize insulin, boost satiety, and protect the heart. Meanwhile, low-fat processed foods did the opposite, keeping people hungry, tired, and metabolically broken. Fung's verdict is simple: fat isn't the enemy, insulin is. Eating fat doesn't make you fat. Eating foods that raise insulin does. Now that we know what went wrong, the question becomes, how do we fix it? The answer lies not just in what we eat, but when we eat. Chapter 19. How to lower insulin. You've discovered the enemy, insulin. Now comes the real question. How do you defeat it without starving yourself or counting calories for life? Dr. Fung makes one thing crystal clear. The key to fat loss isn't eating less, it's lowering insulin. And that requires two strategies. Change what you eat and change when you eat. First, he attacks the modern obsession with constant eating: snacks, breakfast, energy bars, and late-night meals. Every bite, no matter how small, keeps insulin high. So the first rule: stop grazing, start spacing. Next, he emphasizes real food and processed, low-carb, high-fiber, moderate protein, and healthy fats. That means cut refined carbs and sugars, avoid processed snacks and seed oils, embrace natural fats: butter, olive oil, nuts, fish, load up on vegetables and fiber. But there's one more secret, something far more powerful than diet alone: fasting. What if the ultimate fat-burning switch isn't what you eat at all, but the hours when you don't? Chapter 20. The power of fasting. You've tried every diet: keto, low-carb, vegan, calorie counting. But what if the most powerful weight loss method was free and built into your biology? Dr. Fung calls fasting the ancient cure for modern disease. For centuries, humans naturally fasted between meals, during nights, or out of necessity. Today, we've destroyed that rhythm with constant eating. Fasting isn't starvation, it's healing. When you fast, insulin drops, the body switches from burning sugar to burning stored fat. Hunger hormones reset, energy rises, and fat cells finally unlock their reserves. He describes several fasting methods. Intermittent fasting: 16 to 8, eat within an 8-hour window. 24-hour fasts: skip meals occasionally. Extended fasts for advanced healing under guidance. Fung's rule is simple: let insulin rest, and the body will fix itself. Fasting repairs metabolism, reduces insulin resistance, and even reverses type 2 diabetes, something once considered chronic and incurable. He breaks the fear of fasting with one truth: you won't lose energy. You'll regain control, because every fast teaches your body to remember what it forgot: how to thrive without constant food. But the story doesn't end here. Dr. Fung's solution opens a bigger question. If obesity isn't about willpower or calories, what else can fasting heal? Appendices. The practical code theory inspires, but practice transforms. Now, how do you turn this science into a lifestyle that lasts forever? The appendices serve as a practical manual. Start with 12-14 hours fasting, then expand gradually. Stay hydrated: water, tea, black coffee allowed. Break fasts gently with real food, not processed snacks. Avoid stress, poor sleep, and constant snacking, the silent insulin boosters. Dr. Fung emphasizes mindset over measurement. Forget calorie tracking apps. Focus on rhythm, rest, and real food. The goal isn't short-term fat loss, it's metabolic freedom. He ends with a truth that flips the entire diet industry. The body isn't broken. It's just been mistreated. Give it the right signals and it heals itself. And this is where the real journey begins, not with another diet, but with a decision. Will you live by habit or by design? Final thoughts. We were told that obesity is about laziness, about eating too much and moving too little. But the Obesity Code exposes the truth: it was never your fault. You weren't weak, you were misinformed. Trapped in a system built on myths: the myth of calories, the myth of willpower, the myth of endless small meals that keep you energized but really keep you hungry. Dr. Jason Fung shatters that illusion with one simple code: control insulin and you control weight, not through suffering, not through starvation, but through rhythm. By eating real food, honoring hunger, and rediscovering fasting, the ancient wisdom buried under modern noise. This book isn't just about losing fat, it's about reclaiming power over your biology, your time, and your life. Because when you learn to control insulin, you don't just change your body, you rewrite your story. So if you've ever looked in the mirror and felt defeated, remember, you're not broken, you're just following the wrong code. Break free, fast smart, eat real, and most importantly, never let marketing tell you what hunger means. If you found this summary powerful, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell, because we're bringing such type of amazing book summaries every day for you to reshape your body and life. Stay curious, stay disciplined, and remember, your body isn't the enemy, it's the messenger.